So welcome everyone to the first book launch at NLF 2024. It's really amazing that you're all here in this room. We've got so many authors, illustrators, editors, writers. I think you're quite a lucky bunch to begin your NLF 2024 with this session. We're going to be listening to and discussing a little bit about Go Wild, stories, essays, and comics that celebrate the earth, and we're going to speak to its contributors. So I'm just going to introduce them. It's a long list. We've got Bijal Vachharajani. When she's not reading a children's book, she's writing or editing one. She's the author of multiple planet-friendly books, including A Cloud Called Bhura, Savi and the Memory Keeper, both of which won the Author Award, and When Fairyland Lost Its Magic, which won the Kalinga Award, one of India's first climate fiction writers for children. She's now a climate warrior.
Aparna Kapur has been involved in children's publishing for 14 years as an editor and a writer. She's also written about children's literature for various publications and presented papers at conferences across the world. She's often found poring over a book or pouring herself a large cup of coffee.
Next, we've got Shabnam Minwalla. Shabnam is, to put it mildly, a Mumbai-aholic, an ardent sari shopper, a murderer mystery buff, and an occasionally frazzled mother of 3 teenagers. She has spent all of her life with words, working as a journalist with the Times of India, writing columns and features in various publications and non-fiction books about the facets of Mumbai. What she most enjoys, though, is writing books for children and young adults. Her popular books include The 6 Spellmakers of Dorabaji Street, What Maya Saw, Saira's Zariwala is Afraid, and the rib-tickling Nimmi series. She has won numerous awards and teaches creative writing in a Mumbai college. Her latest book, Zen, a mix of romance, history, and politics, has been greeted by fantastic reviews.
Next, we have Priya Kuriyan. Priya Kuriyan is a children's book writer, illustrator, comics maker, and chronic doodler. She's directed educational films for the Sesame Street Show India and the Children's Film Society of India, or CFSI, and has illustrated numerous children's books for publishers like Tulika Books, Penguins, Scholastic, and Hachette, to name a few. Her most recent children's picture book, Beauty in Missing, was published by Pratham Books, India. She lives and works in the city of Bangalore and in her spare time makes funny caricatures of its residents.
Next, we have Lavanya Karthik. Lavanya Karthik's books have won awards, been translated into many languages, and traveled the world. Lavanya herself lives in Mumbai, where she writes, draws, gardens, and dreams of a cleaner, greener world.
Next, we have Rajiv Eipe. I hope I'm pronouncing your last name right. Eipe? Okay, thank you so much. Okay, Rajiv Eipe is an animator and an illustrator of picture books and comics. He's worked on children's books with various publishers and has animated short films for television, film, and the web. In 2020, he won the Parag Big Little Book Award illustration and for his contribution to children's literature in India. He lives in Bangalore with his family consisting of 2 cats, 1 dog, and 1 human.
Next, we have Rohan Chakravarty. Rohan is a cartoonist, illustrator, and the creator of Green Humor, and a series of cartoons, comics, and illustrations on wildlife and nature conservation. Cartoons from Green Humor appear periodically in newspaper columns, magazines, and journals. Illustrations from Green Humor have also been used for several projects and campaigns on wildlife awareness and climate change. Rohan is also the author of 8 books, including the Penguin publications, Green Humor for Green Planet, Naturalist Study, and Sea Ice Now You Don't, and has won awards by UNDP, Sanctuary Asia, WWF International, the Royal Bank of Scotland, and Bangalore Literature Festival for his work. He is notorious for rolling up into a ball like a pangolin to avoid answering the phone or meeting people.
Next, we have Yuvan Aves. Yuvan Aves is a writer, naturalist, educator, and an environmental defender based in Chennai. His recent book is intertitled A Coast and Marsh Diary, published by Bloomsbury. He's the author of 2 books on ecology and 3 children's books. Recipient of the M. Krishna Memorial Nature Writing Award, Sanctuary Asia Green Teacher Award, among others. He's an active part of resistance and community movements against ecocide and industrial violence in South India. He's the founder, managing trustee of Palluyur Trust for Nature, Education and Research.
And finally, we have Prabha Malia, who is an illustrator. She is an illustrator and comics creator. She has illustrated for The Wildings, Beastly Tales from Here and There, and The Jungle Books, and contributed graphic stories to several comics anthologies for over a decade. Currently, Prabha is pursuing a PhD focusing on the relevance of sketching in industrial design, while also teaching undergraduate students sketching and visual design. She's happiest when fussing with inks and stubby pencils and often ends up with black fingernails. So without further ado, we're going to introduce all of these lovely contributors to this book. So everyone enjoy this masterclass.
So that was a lot of people, right? Yeah, so imagine me, I had to talk to all these people and many more to put this book together. So somebody please give me a cookie. No? Okay, fine. But all later. Oh my god, this is great. This is the team that okay, later, Maxi. Okay, and also I just want to give a shout out to the team that was part of this book. There's Simran, who's the editor at Penguin, and Samar, who's the art director on this book, making it look so pretty. And there's Kanishka over there, who made sure that I get money. Okay, so the book is called Go Wild. What does the word wild mean to you? What does the word wild mean to you? Something that's not in control. So like, that's very true. You're like Wolverine at this point of time. So, don't you agree? Yeah, full Wolverine look. What else? What does the wild mean to all of you? The jungle. The jungle? And who's in the jungle?
Animals.
Animals. What kind of animals?
Wild animals.
Wild animals. Yeah, so what is the difference between the wild animals that we see perhaps in a forest and maybe, does Neve have a cat or dog? No? You have guinea pig. So what's the difference between the two? One's domesticated, right? We take care of them. And the others are, as you said, they're in the wild. But is the wild only in the forest? Where else do we see the wild? Apart from this classroom.
How dare you?
You wrote about pigeons. So pigeons wild? What else? What else do you see in plants? What wild things do you see in them? Bugs. Yeah. Rajiv, what did you write about? What did you draw about in your book? Praying mantises. How many of you have seen them? Yeah. So they are also part of the wild. Yuvan, who did you write about?
An old tree.
An old palash tree, right? So that's also the wild. So wherever you look, there is wild around you. And this book is kind of about that. What we're not going to do is read from the book because we hope you will read the book and you know how to read, so we're not worried about that. What we thought instead is, first I will let each of the writer, illustrator to talk to each other about the book, about their stories in the book. So let's start with Priya and Yuvan.
I'll ask first. Hello, this is Priya Kuriyan and she is an amazing artist. And one of the things I stole from her is something called garden variety humor. You can put that hashtag on Instagram and see. She would have garden variety humor. She would have taken a tap from the kitchen and then drawn a flamingo around it, or a pair of chappals and then polar bears around it. And there's this sense of seeing the extraordinary in the ordinary, you know, the magnificent in the mundane. And I wanted to ask you what it would look like to sort of borrow your eyeballs and yeah.
So, to me, like, though I call myself an illustrator, I feel like more than just drawing, um, more than just like the physical act of drawing, illustration and even drawing actually is more about seeing, you know, like observing, looking carefully, rather than, you know, using your, like, I feel like the hand is just an extension of what you are seeing and observing. So it's a way for me to draw, you know. So what I do is I love taking nature walks. So when I'm out in a park or anywhere, I tend to collect these little interesting things that I see, like maybe it could be a seed pod, or it could be something that's just fallen off a tree. And then I somehow always try and see if I can make an image out of it, because anything that you pick, say a leaf or a seed pod, or if it has an interesting shape, you will see other things in it when you look carefully. So I find that exercise very enjoyable. And it's really fun. It's a lot of apart, because a lot of times, you know, you're isolated in your room and just drawing all day. And then when you step out and you want to have some fun, right? So it's not good to always be serious. You also need to play with your work, and this is my way of playing with work. And yeah, so I really enjoy doing that. So, Yuvan. So Yuvan's written this really, really beautiful, it's like a portrait of a tree that he loves very much. What is really lovely about his piece is that he looks at this tree it's in Chennai, right? Outskirts of Chennai. It's a palash tree, and the way he looks at it with so much affection, you feel as though, you know, Yuvan, this is his chosen family. You know, nature is his chosen family, and it really kind of, you must read the piece. And in this piece, he also describes, I'm going to ask one stupid question, okay? And maybe I'll follow it up with a sensible question. In this piece, he is describing a palash flower, okay? And then he says that the flower has, the flower has 5 petals. And one of the petals is like this. If you have any of you seen a palash flower? So one of these petals stick out like this, right? And he says this petal is sticking out like this, holding a placard, calling out to the others. So I want to ask him, what is this petal saying on that? What does that placard say?
Quick answer to that question is that I'm constantly imagining other creatures putting up resistance, you know, saying, I'm sorry, I'm going to have my way of life, even if you're going to try and bulldoze me. So I'm thinking of termites sort of breaking down systems and buildings, tunneling into our foundations. I'm thinking of, you know, birds which refuse to move and sort of stay in their homeland, even if it's sort of surrounded by urban. So that just to look at a flower, a placard is an activist tool, no? So just to look at a flower like that. But it's really, Palash tree has 5 petals, the keel, 2 wings and a banner, and that banner is to call birds and other pollinators. Yeah.
I'll pass the mic on. If there's time, I'll ask another sensible question.
Remind us, okay? So this was the stupid question. Okay. Good question. All right, let's go right at the back with the backbenchers first, with pigeon and tidepool people.
Oh, man. Okay. I think a lot of us have already seen Rohan's work. The second you see one of his comics, he goes by the name of Green Humor. And he is the reason so many environmental issues that would otherwise seem so complex or, you know, out of one's understanding are broken down into these extremely funny yet powerful, hard-hitting comics. I think I have learned so much just from one of your comics. And you make it look so easy. I mean, I'm sure each thing, I mean, the amount of work that goes into each comic, each panel, I am sure you take hours and perhaps days and weeks to put it together, but I just hats off to you because I think you are one of the most inspirational artists in terms of the content that you have in your comics and the sheer joy with which you manage to say so many hard-hitting things. So that is Rohan, everyone. And here's my question. Now, Rohan has a comic about something, it is very different from any of his other works, any of his comics that I have read so far. It is different even in the drawing style, it is different in the message, in what the content. And I am therefore going to let you read it for yourself. And I am going to steal an idea from Priya and ask a stupid question. Thank you, Priya. And my question is, if you were a bird, a flightless bird, which bird would you be and why?
Wow. I think I'd like to be an ostrich. I saw a few of them at Cape Point when I went to South Africa for this project I did. And, those ostriches, there's a bit of, I guess, gender role reversal there because when the Atlantic breeze flows in, it's the males that kind of, have an upskirt moment like Marilyn Monroe because of their ruffled feathers, and the women gaze at them. So I, as a straight man who's never really, got into all of that, would like to maybe experience that as a bird. And a male ostrich having a Marilyn Monroe moment by women, yes. Yes, I promise you, you all will. Yes. Okay, I just need a change of costume. Okay, I've been a fan of Lavanya's as well because she's been so prolific as a writer, as an illustrator. I don't know how many, you do some 30 books in a year, I believe? No. And some of her, my favorite of hers have been Ninja Nani and the book you did on Satyajit Ray. And she's done a very interesting story for this book as well, which is about an animal that I hate. It is the pigeon, the urban, the feral pigeon, not the wild pigeons. I love wild pigeons. This is about the feral pigeon. And she has managed to make even somebody like me a little more curious, a little more sensitive to the way I see pigeons, because it's, after all, not their fault alone that they are colonizing urban ecosystems. But as somebody who approaches his work from an ecological standpoint, and also as somebody who's losing out my neighborhood birds to pigeons and colonization, I want to ask you this question. Have you ever tasted a pigeon? And if I cook one for you, will you join me for a meal?
No, because I'm vegetarian, but I will sit next to you and watch you eat. I will keep you company, but I wouldn't join it.
But the larger part of the question is, could you please take us through your love for the pigeon in brief?
Well, I must say I love all birds. I'm insects, and I am happy, and I will pet pretty much anything if I know it won't bite me back, say crocodiles. But I am also a person largely clueless. I do not know the details of, if you were to ask Rohan or Yuvan today, something about a species, they would give you facts. And I find that amazing. But I also cherish my utter illiteracy when it comes to animals because I'm just this dumb tourist. I like to just sit and watch. And the pigeons on my balcony gave me a chance to do that up close, because what my comic is about is it's a few weeks when this pigeon family built a nest in my balcony, and rather than shoo them away, which is what my neighbors told me to do, I just sat and watched. And before I knew it, I was part of their family. It sounds strange, but because I was feeding them and leaving water out, the father and mother started to, they didn't mind when I was standing, inches away. We were all part of this little group. We were raising that baby. And I finally had to, very sadly, I'm very disappointed with myself, but I was forced to send them packing. I had to evict them. But this is really a comic about that time, a very precious few weeks in my life when I was essentially a landlord and then a bad landlord.
Rajiv and Shabnam.
So everyone, this is Shabnam, the great Shabnam Minwalla. Shabnam, you have a very lovely story in the book about a young girl who puts aside, the protagonist's name is Mansi, and she puts aside her everything that she's dealing with to, along with her friends, save a neighborhood tree. Your story is called The Banyan Tree of B.D. Kelkar Road. So my question is, was there a tree that you know and love personally that you cast in this role of the banyan tree in the story? And sorry, it's a two-part question. And if you were a tree, what tree would you identify as?
So I was a very, very shy child. So my friends were people in books and my friends were a few trees in the neighborhood. And right outside my balcony, there was this most gorgeous banyan tree. And the entire neighborhood just would say, this tree, because of it, we don't get sunlight. This tree, because of it, you know, things are falling on the road, things are falling on our chokidars' heads, that kind of stuff. And everybody was always out to prune it, and it always panicked me horrendously. And I've spent a lot, and I happen to live in the same building I grew up in. So that tree is in a way my forever friend. And I know its berries, and I know its roots, and I know the things that people have hidden in it. And you know, it's an interesting thing because this tree is not a benevolent force entirely. It is just a force of nature. There are quite unpleasant things associated with it as well. A boy, I knew a little, very not pleasant boy committed suicide there. So the tree is so much a part of the neighborhood and of my life that yes, it is the star of my book. And if I was a tree, what tree would I be? I love star apple. I just love that tree, dark green in front, the leaves, and golden at the back. And you know, they pop up in strange corners of Mumbai. Some trader in the past must have brought some seeds, planted them somewhere. And suddenly, you know, my daughters and I will be walking and we say, star apple! And the whole city gapes at us because nobody's looking at trees, everybody's looking at t-shirts being sold on the road. And the forts, yeah. Okay, so my turn. Okay, so first I have to say thank you to Rajiv. He has done this most extraordinary set of drawings, illustrations about the praying mantis. It's really funny. There's a praying mantis and a betraying mantis, and he had me giggling away. And then I decided, I was quite nervous about this session, so I started doing research about the praying mantis, and I discovered that it is a truly unusual creature. You know, born to be a James Bond villain, a master of disguise, has sort of spikes in its legs, so it skewers its victims. Has no issues taking on things that are much larger than itself, tries to eat hummingbirds and sunbirds. And if any of you are thinking of entering a romantic relationship with a praying mantis, avoid it, because especially the female tends to eat up the head of the male about 1/4 of the time, and then eat up the rest of the male as well. So it's a bit of a dangerous thing. My question is, why did you venture into the big bad world of bugs? And from all the insects out there, why a praying mantis?
So I've been fascinated with insects for a while actually, because it's one of those few bits of wildlife that are around us. Even if we live in a city, if you have plants in your garden, you'll invariably have the occasional, you know, beetle or mantis praying or otherwise. Yeah, I find them fascinating. It's amazing when you just shift your lens from, you know, looking for elephants and tigers to something small. There's a magical, bizarre, weird world that opens up. So that fascination has been there for a while. Why praying mantis? I had actually written another comic for this, and that wasn't making a lot of sense, and this was a last minute thing. Yeah, I don't have a great story for why, but they're fascinating, as you have pointed out, and I'll also say that you did a lot more research about mantises than I
basically think Shabnam gave your answer for you in the question. So, Aparna. Okay. So Your story is about nature being interconnected. It's told in parts from different perspectives. You picked a very complicated theme and you wrote multiple perspectives in a space of 3,000 words. I have two questions for you as well. One, why did you pick the hibiscus as the main protagonist in the story? And the second, why are you obsessed with buttons? You've written a whole poem around buttons. Like why? No. It's not in your story, but you're obsessed with buttons and we want to know why.
I have forgotten my story and I thought there was a button in it, but there isn't. I find buttons fascinating. Buttons are very interesting and fascinating. The reason I picked a hibiscus flower is just because it's everywhere around us, so it's very common and identifiable, and I wanted the story to feel very immediate and familiar, and because you can't help but your eyes can't help but be drawn towards them because of their bright red color. So that was it was simply that. I have nothing to say about buttons.
You've written a whole poem about it.
Just to make myself laugh. Sometimes I write things to make myself laugh and they turn into books. And then I can't escape them. Bijal, I have a complicated question for you.
Okay.
Okay, everyone said stupid and serious questions, but this one is a pretentious question. If this anthology were a landscape and you were traveling through it, where would you, there are three things, I think you should sit right next to me so you can give me the mic back. Where would you stop to rest a while? In the book. Where in the book would you stop to rest a while? I'm going to say all three. Where would you walk most meanderingly? And where would you take a picture?
Okay, where would I stop first?
Where would you stop?
You know, I would stop under the old worn Palash tree by Yuvan Aves because both of us are old and worn. And both of us, I think, are constantly carrying placards about something about resistance in our own ways. Mine are books, and the Palash finds its voice through Yuvan's story. So I definitely think I'd sit there and then I don't think I'd move, so then you'd have no other answer to your question.
That's your last stop. Where would you walk most meanderingly?
You know, I actually think that I'd walk in Rohan's story. I'd love to walk the depths of the ocean because I'm terrified as well, and Rohan and I were both in the Andaman when the story is set. And I think it's very important to remember that how important that ecosystem is for the earth and for us. And to be able to take a walk around it is so important, especially given what's going to be happening to Nicobar at this point of time. So if more people took a walk around the oceans on the wild side, I think they would want to protect it instead of making roads and buildings and industries over there. And what was your third question? Oh, ooh, lots of selfie points. Let me think. See, if I was an influencer, I'd like to take a picture with Priya Kuriyan's rescue and be like, I rescued a coppersmith barbet. If I mean, there's so many options. Like the pigeon would be such a great. I'm obsessed with munyas are nesting in my house right now, so I keep taking their photos like a full paparazzi. So I don't think I'd take photos of the pigeons. Sorry. And definitely like praying mantis, and I'll send it to all my wildlife friends and be like, look, I can also notice things. You know, but I think who I'd really like to take a picture with is Salil Chaturvedi. He has a photo essay, Salil, in the book, and it's called Places My Wheelchair Likes to Go. And it just takes the wheelchair into different places, and all I want to do is go with Salil. And actually, yeah, that's my last stop. You're right. And so a selfie with Salil Chaturvedi is what I want. All right, thank you for that question. Let's have a big round of applause for everyone. Now, what we're going to do is, if you guys thought you were done, you're not. I'm going to throw like some quick quiz questions at them, after which you all are most welcome to ask questions. Okay, here's the thing, there are no rules. So whoever knows the answer, you can shout it out, raise your hand. Simran, come this side. Samar, you both can be my conscience keeper for people. See who's giving the right answers, all of that. Okay, first quiz question is, it's a multiple choice answer. Which of the songs may cause climate change? I'm Leaving on a Jet Plane by John Denver. This Is What Forever Feels Like by Nick Jonas and JVKE. You Belong With Me by Taylor Swift. Who is the answer?
Leaving on a jet plane.
Is that right? Yes. All right. 5 fake points to Priya Kuriyan. Okay, then complete these titles. For the first one, you have 3 tries. Amachis? Yes. One more, Amachis? Whoever said climate change, give them all the points. Amachis? Yes, Amachis Glasses is by Priya Kuriyan and Amachis Amazing Machines is by Rajiv Eipe. See, continuing with complete these titles. Sea Ice. Well done. Okay, this one's a tough one. Intertidal, A Dash and Dash Diary. Wow. Please. She? This is like nepotism, boss. This was cheating. This was cheating. Okay. What the? What the? I'm going to let my team answer the question. No? What the? What the duck sounds like? Aparna Kapur's forgotten her own book. I know. I wonder what you were thinking of, Priya. Tell us.
No, thanks.
Ninja Slash and the Slash Burglars.
Ninja Rani and the Mummy Burglar.
Oh my God! Tough one slightly. Naturalist Ruddy has 3 ways of describing on the cover of who he is. Yes. One of them is sleuth, well done. One of them is who naturally? Yes, who said mongoose? Hey, what is this penguin team? Yeah, naturalist Ruddy, penguin, sleuth, then mongoose. One more. Word starting with A. Somebody who goes to many places. Can we please boo her? Okay. Shah Rukh Khan once did a film called Dash Mem Sahib. 2 people here have books with characters called by that name. Name the 2 people and their books. By? What Maya Saw by Shabnam Minwalla. You have a book, right?
So, Maya in a Mess?
Yes, Maya in a Mess, which is illustrated by Priya Kuriyan. So, talking of what Maya saw, what did Maya see?
Horns on people's heads.
Horns on people's head. Aparna, what does the dog sound like?
Oh, one dog barking and a whole lot of quiet.
Lavanya, why does Cyrus keep asking why? And Rohan, why don't you see ice now? I don't. But why? Please, big round of applause. Okay. What was the name of the drug that was toxic to vultures and wiped out entire populations. And wait, there's a second part to this question. Ranjit Lal named his vultures after them in a book, which was the book. So first question, what was the drug? Diclofeniac, yes. And Ranjit Lal had a book in which the vultures are called Diclo and Feniac. Maithili, you've got to know this. Yes, very good. Just so you know that Maithili has designed the cover. And okay, name a book done by Lavanya and Priya. I know. Minus points for them. By Aparna Kapur and Ogan Nayam. You can say Menka instead of just nodding at me.
I won't wash my hair.
Alright. Rohan Chakravarty and Bijal Vachharajani. Right, yes, I forgot about that. Rajiv and Lavanya. Yes, that one. What's the title? That's not theirs.
Tarzan lady. Woman? Lady Tarzan.
Tarzan. Yeah, actually, that also was Tanvi, no? Shy. Yeah.
Shy Supergirl.
Okay. And a book just by Yuvan Aves.
I should say.
Okay. All right. Which of this movie isn't about the environment? Don't Look Up, Bedia, The Green Mile. Who's saying Bedia? No, you're right, The Green Mile. Bedia is actually about a man who turns into a werewolf and begins protecting the jungles against industrialists. Sorry? It has, what's his name? Varun Dhawan. I was going to say Varun Grover. Please don't tell him I said that. Okay. Make up a collective noun for a group of these people. Heflalums. Heflalums, how do you pronounce them? Heflalums. Make a collective noun for them. Do we like that? Yeah? A lump. So, I like that. Yeah. Okay. A collective noun for people clearing a forest. A collective noun for a group of industrialists clearing a forest. Oh, I love that. A breed of industrialists. Can we please have a round of applause for that? And very important, we need a collective noun for this bunch of people, children's bookmakers. Give us a collective noun. Whack then? Pookies? A chaos. What do we like? What do you think we want to be called? Alright, chaos it is. A chaos of children's bookmakers. Alright, so thank you so much. Now we'll open the floor for questions which you can ask all of these people. Don't ask me, I'm just standing with the mic. So questions about nature, about processes, anything?
This question is directed to Rohan. Why did you make the protagonist of naturalist Ruddy mongoose?
It's my favorite. I'll actually, you can hear me, right? So, tigers are, overhyped, according to me. So are leopards, and I didn't want them to be protagonists because, like Rajiv said, when you look at insects, your whole perspective changes. I don't think tigers and leopards spend much time looking at insects because they're bothered about other things. I wanted a protagonist who was the apex predator of a very small world, of a micro world. And if you've ever seen a mongoose, you know that they move very stealthily and they have an air of a sleuth, a detective in themselves. So that's why natural studies of mongoose. Am I allowed to ask a question?
Yes, you are.
Priya, this is for you. I was reading your comic and I'm really curious to know if you were paying any kind of tribute to the boy and the heron, Hayao Miyazaki, in the way you depicted the Shikra.
I love it, the film, but I think in this case, I just felt that this whole situation was there was a bit of violence in this. So it was a bit different from, so I didn't really think of it, but now that you say it, I am making a connection. Yeah, okay, I can sound like intellectual and say yes. But
so this question is open to all the authors. So what was the hardest part of the process of communicating what text and what content you will write in the book, and what are the illustrations you would like?
So, honestly, when Shohini, who's the big boss at Puffin, she said that we want to do a nature anthology. So I said, I wanted to do something that's a lot of fun, because when people talk about nature, they'll just be like, I'm going to go and save nature. Or they're just going to be like nature in the faraway places. I wanted nature to be about stories, yes. So we always think of stories as fiction, non-fiction. But I wanted it to be about comics. I wanted photo essays. There's a poem on plastics in there by Jai Whittaker. So what I basically did was, I made lots of Excel sheets, which is very boring. Like really boring. Everyone tells you it's great fun to, choose and things like that. I made lots of Excel sheets. Simran and I huddled and I would keep sharing with her. And she's like, you've not updated the Excel sheet. I don't know what's happening over there. So that would happen, and that's how we picked that, okay, we wanted enough artists, we wanted enough writers, we wanted a poem, all of that. And then sometimes writers will just do what they want. So you go to somebody and say, I want a story, and they'll say, of course, and then send you a poem. You go to someone and say, I want a poem, they'll send you a photo essay. And so you're just going to have to deal with it. So that's how this book happened actually. And one of the great things is that Prabha Malia, who's there, has done the chapter openers for each story. So you finish a story and then you see the chapter opener, and you suddenly realize, you take clues as to what the story is going to be about, and then you start reading it. And I think that's what makes this book so special, also having Prabha's illustrations in it, because she's awesome. I don't know if we'll be able to hear if she talks, right?
Prabha, could you try talking so that we just see whether... did you want to say anything? Because we were talking about the chapter openers, and how did you come about the chapter openers for the book?
Right, so for me it felt like, since it's an anthology of various kinds of stories and a number of different experiences by the authors, and for me it felt like the separators, the little illustrations in between, should also be as eclectic as those stories and those comics and those illustrations. So yeah, and then I was thinking about how I could kind of draw from nature, right? I have my sketchbook with me all the time. And so I thought, what if the separators here also kind of looked like a sketchbook, like a walk out in the world, just drawing out of nature. So it's almost like I walked through all of your stories and your graphic stories and just, sketched what I could see when I was reading them. That's pretty much what happened.
Thank you so much, Prabha. Prabha's joining us all the way from Australia. New Zealand, sorry. All right, I think we're running out of time now. So, okay, firstly, a big round of applause for all of you knowing all the titles as compared to the adults. And thank you so much. What are we calling the anthology people? What was the name you came up with, Lavanya? Anthropologist. Yeah, thank you, anthropologists, for being part of Go Wild. And yeah, go out there and explore nature. Thank you, everyone.